El siguiente programa es apto para todo público. Les recomendamos ajustar bien el sonido.
Yo, this is Ricardo Morelli coming to you live from New York City. You're listening to HKL International Radio. Please stay tuned for more music and more excitement, baby.
Todos tienen algo para contar, algo para informar y dejar una huella en un acontecimiento especial. Aquí da inicio Personajes. Acompáñanos el último domingo de cada mes con un invitado estelar, con la entrevista internacional de Angie Mera y la dirección de Alejandro Gómez. Personajes por HKL Radio, más internacional.
Bienvenidos a nuestro espacio periodístico llamado Personajes, el cual será emitido todos los últimos domingos de cada mes a las 6 de la tarde, hora Colombia, con repetición el siguiente domingo a las 2 de la tarde. En Personajes conocerán más a fondo a diferentes personalidades, tanto de Colombia como del mundo. Gente interesante que tiene mucho que compartir con toda nuestra querida audiencia. Yo, Angie Mera, los estaré acompañando en este espacio entrevistando a nuestros personajes. Bienvenidos.
Con ustedes, un invitado estelar en Personajes.
Para hoy nuestro invitado estelar en Personajes es Ricardo Morelli, guitarrista y luthier neoyorquino, especialista en construcción y diseño de instrumentos de cuerda, con más de 17 años de experiencia, graduado del Instituto Internacional de Luthiers en Atlanta, Georgia, en 1999. Actualmente es luthier principal en la famosa cadena de almacenes de instrumentos norteamericanos Guitar Center en New York City. Our star guest today in Personalities is Ricardo Morelli, guitar player and luthier born and raised in New York City. As a luthier, Ricardo specializes on repairing and building guitars or any string instrument. He has been in this profession for more than 17 years. Ricardo graduated from the International Luthiers Institute in Atlanta, Georgia in 1999. Currently, he is the head luthier in the famous music chain franchise Guitar Center in New York City. Hola Ricardo, mil gracias por estar con nosotros acá en Personajes en HKL Radio. Cuéntanos de tu infancia, dónde naciste, los valores de tu familia, todo lo que tiene que ver con tu background. So thank you so much for being with us here today, Ricardo. So tell us about your childhood, where you were born, your family values and background.
Hello, Angie. Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be here. Well, I was born here in Syosset Hospital in New York. My mother was born in Harlem. My father is from Brooklyn. I grew up in, what you would call a blue-collar house. I had a good childhood. My parents were loving parents. Stayed out of trouble most of my youth. And was just... a happy kid that was artistic and very much into music from a young age.
Bueno, yo nací en el Hospital Syosset acá en New York. Mi madre nació en Harlem, mi papá en Brooklyn. Nací en un hogar que llamamos Cuello Azul, clase media. Tuve una infancia buena, mis padres fueron amorosos y no me metí en problemas en mi adolescencia. Crecí, digamos, feliz y con dotes artísticos. Cuéntanos qué ventajas crees tú que hay en haber nacido y crecido en el estado de Nueva York comparado a otros estados. In your opinion, what advantages you had growing up in New York City or New York State compared to other states?
Right. Well, I think the advantage of anyone growing up in New York as opposed to some other state, in the Midwest or something, is maybe the exposure to a lot of culture, different cultures, the opportunity to, make something of yourself more here than maybe anywhere else, or used to be that way, I guess. But, there's a lot of, music and fashion and art that you could surround yourself with. Very outgoing people. New Yorkers are social. We have to be. I mean, being surrounded by so many different people and different races and culture, it brings you, I guess, out of your shell from a young age. And, being in a big city like this, there's a lot more opportunity to do things in art than there would be, say, in some small town somewhere.
Pues las ventajas de haber nacido y crecido en New York, comparable con otros estados, creo yo, es la exposición a la parte cultural, las diferentes razas, el mundo de la moda, las artes, es muy activo acá. En New York, la gente sociable, toca por el ritmo de vida, la parte racial, todo el mundo siempre está hablando con todo el mundo y así es que se avanza en esta cultura. ¿A qué edad empezaste a notar que tenías atracción con la música? ¿Empezaste a notar esos talentos? ¿Empezaste a mostrarlos? ¿A qué edad? At what age you started to feel attracted to music and show your talents?
Some of my very earliest memories are of music. I can remember when I was a child, my father brought home a little record player with a bunch of 45 records, which were little small singles for anyone that doesn't know what a 45 is today. And I remember just, sitting there. I must have been 3-4 years old, I guess, and playing these records on my little record player on the living room floor for hours and hours on end, just watching the record label spin around. Just happened to be Monkees records and Beatles and Beach Boys and things like this, but specifically the Monkees stood out to me the most, watching Nicole Gem's records, red and white record label spinning around, listening to that music, for some reason really had an effect on me, and that sort of never went away.
Mis pequeñas memorias de pequeño, mis recuerdos son de música. Recuerdo que un día mi padre trajo un tocadiscos a la casa de discos de 45, los pequeños sencillos que en ese momento los llamaban de 45. Y recuerdo que me sentaba en la sala y escuchaba estos discos una y otra vez por horas. Yo tenía unos 3 o 4 años y estos discos eran de Monkees, los Beatles. Y recuerdo que eso causó un efecto en mí hasta el día de hoy. ¿Cuál fue tu primer instrumento? ¿Quién te lo dio? Your first instrument, who gave it to you?
My very first instrument was a Mickey Mouse guitar. It was given to me by my parents, probably for Christmas. I must have been 3 or 4 years old, I guess. And for every Christmas after that, consecutive instruments came into my hands. Secondhand, no-name guitars from garage sales, so forth and so on. I think my 8th birthday or something like this, I got a Memphis guitar, which was just a brand that could be bought at Sears or something like this, and it was a little 3/4 size electric guitar, but it was like a real official new electric guitar, and I remember taking it to bed with me and sleeping with it. I actually had it in my bed and slept with that guitar, Christmas night, and the love affair began, as it were, I guess.
Mi primer instrumento fue una guitarra de Mickey Mouse. Creo yo, me la regalaron mis padres en alguna Navidad y luego otras tantas guitarras de diferentes marcas, pero recuerdo una en especial que me la regalaron a los 8 años quizás. Se llamaba una Memphis Guitar, que uno la conseguía en Sears o algo así. Y me acuerdo que apenas me la dieron, la cogí y me fui a dormir con ella en esa noche de Navidad. Y así empezó el love affair, el romance entre la guitarra y yo. Menciona 5 bandas favoritas o músicos favoritos que tú admiras y por qué los admiras a cada uno de ellos. Mention 5 of your favorite musicians or bands and why you admire each one of them.
My musical influences range wildly, from Living Colour to Crosby, Stills and Nash, to Michael Nesmith, to Extreme, to Frank Zappa, to Joe Satriani, to the Black Crowes, Lenny Kravitz, but probably most prevalently artists like Jesse Johnson, The Time, Prince, Funkadelic, these type of black funk rock artists have had the most influence on me and my playing.
Mi influencia musical es amplia, desde Living Colour hasta Crosby, Stills and Nash, desde Michael Nesmith a la banda Extreme, Frank Zappa, Joey Satriani, los Black Crowes, Lenny Kravitz, Jesse Johnson, Time, Prince, of course, Funkadelic. En general, todo este tipo de música funk, rock, ha tenido la mayor influencia en mí y en la manera como yo toco la guitarra. ¿En qué momento decidiste convertirte en un luthier? ¿Y qué es lo que hace un luthier exactamente? When you decided to become a luthier, and why and what exactly a luthier does?
I used to fool around and fix my own guitars as a kid. My father was a carpenter by trade, so I was always surrounded by woodworking and things like this. My father was very mechanically inclined. He was handy, anything from restoring a house to, building an engine or anything in between, whatever it was that he wanted to do, he was able to do. So I sort of took after that by just being around it, I guess. Just an inherited talent, I suppose. But at one point, I think my mother sort of implied to me that maybe I should go to school to, officially learn how to build guitars and repair guitars. Where I kind of was like, Ma, schools like that don't exist. Don't be silly. But come to find out, they did, and they do. I opened up the back of a guitar player magazine or something like this and saw that there were two schools at the time, luthier schools in this country. One was out in Arizona called Roberto Venn. The other one was in Atlanta, Georgia, and that's the one that I attended when I was, I believe, like 22 years old or something like that. So I served an apprenticeship, and I was off and running with my career in guitar repair and guitar building.
Yo siempre desde pequeño estaba reparando cosas, mis guitarras, juguetes, lo que sea. Mi padre fue carpintero de profesión y siempre estaba arreglando cosas también alrededor o reparando. Y quizás yo heredé eso, pero un día mi madre mencionó que yo debería tomar en serio lo de reparar y lo de construir instrumentos de cuerda. Y pues yo me reí y le dije que no creía que existieran colegios acá en los Estados Unidos que enseñaran, pero buscando en una revista de rock and roll vi una publicidad de 2 escuelas precisamente en este país y atendí la que está en Atlanta, Georgia, porque me quedaba más cerca. Y allá estuve y de allí me gradué en 1999.
Todos los eventos, noticias de tus artistas favoritos, videos, actualidad, imágenes y mucho más. Encuéntranos en Facebook como HKL Radio Más Internacional, en Twitter HKL Radio y en Skype HKL.radio, en las redes sociales Más Internacional. Personajes.
¿Has tenido la oportunidad de haber reparado instrumentos de celebrities, de gente famosa? ¿De quién y cómo fue esa experiencia? Did you ever have the opportunity of repairing celebrities' instruments? Who and how was that experience?
Well, I had worked on some guitars that were owned by Lenny Kravitz for Henry Hirsch in Waterfront Studios located in Hudson, New York. I had rebuilt pickups in one of the instruments And in his Stratocaster, I did some wiring and setup and just sort of basic repairs. It was cool. It was fun.
Sí, sí, tuve la oportunidad de trabajar en algunas guitarras de Lenny Kravitz en el estudio de su productor Henry Hirsch en Hudson, New York. Le reparé a Lenny Kravitz su Stratocaster. Le hice los pickups, le hice básicamente mantenimiento y fue una experiencia muy bacana, muy bacana. Hablemos de tus proyectos personales. ¿Cuáles son las metas a seguir en términos de música que has grabado? ¿Qué proyectos hay? Let's talk about your music projects. What are you pursuing? What type of music you play? And what are your goals in terms of music?
I've played in various bands and musical projects around New York City. Right now I am in the process of writing some music of my own to record and try to get some sort of collaboration, a group of people together to actually go out and play some of this music, which seems to be a frightful thing to do these days, pretty much anywhere, I guess, unless you're an electronic computer programmer or DJ or something like this. Playing an instrument live and getting other people to do that alongside you is quite the challenge these days, unfortunately.
He tocado en varios venues en New York y ahora estoy componiendo música propia y tratando de conformar mi banda, lo cual no ha sido fácil. Hoy en día tocar en vivo no es tan atractivo como la música electrónica, los DJs y todo eso, pero estamos en ese proceso y pronto, Dios mediante, estaremos tocando en vivo. ¿Cuál es tu opinión acerca del mercado de la música en Nueva York? ¿Todavía se puede considerar un mercado amigable al rock and roll o ha cambiado? ¿Qué es lo que actualmente atrae público? In your opinion about New York music scene, what is the market for rock and roll? Or if, in your opinion, what is the style that currently is attracting the public?
The music scene in New York City is, as far as I'm concerned, pretty much non-existent. Unless you are playing some sort of indie pop rock or whatever they're calling it, type of music, or a DJ playing electronic rave music or techno or something like this, there probably isn't much else that's attracting anyone's attention these days. Yes, jazz groups do exist, rock groups do exist, and blues players are still around, but there is not much attention given to them, unfortunately. And so, it's pretty much a boring existence to not be able to readily go out and find a large, excited audience for any other type of music besides electronical, techno music and or indie pop rock, or it's not really rock, but this sort of drab type of thing that you'll find in certain areas of Brooklyn.
Pues desafortunadamente la escena musical en New York ha caído mucho para el rock and roll, para el jazz, para el blues. Ahora, si usted no es un DJ electrónico o un músico de pop indie o como le llamen, no hay realmente atención para el jazz, para el rock, para el blues. Es un público muy selectivo, muy pequeño, así que no se le presta atención en gran escala. So, en términos demográficos, ¿cuál es el mercado que actualmente está liderando el mercado norteamericano de la música? In terms of demographics, what is the market that, in your opinion, is ruling the American music market?
Okay, the American music market is run and owned by corporations. Little groups of these people who are run and owned by the corporations also decide to formulate these little pop ditties that you hear on the radio and or your internets that are nothing more but soft porn. That's what I believe it's called, soft porn, sexualized and candy-coated, one-hit wonders or maybe a few hit wonders to help you shake your booty on a Friday evening. Other than that, there isn't much else. Techno music and sexualized candy-coated pop.
Pues el mercado de la música desafortunadamente está liderado por corporaciones y estos pequeños grupos de hombres de negocios lo controlan, quienes no saben nada de música, de arte, de nada. Están produciendo música mediocre, que para mí es como un porno suave, un sexualismo disfrazado, que es un hit de una semana y pare de contar, que le ayuda a mover a usted la colita en una noche de viernes, un techno music, un pop y that's it. ¿Cuál es el instrumento que en tu opinión debe siempre estar en una pieza de música? ¿Cuál es ese instrumento que nunca puede faltar en una canción, sin importar mucho, casi siempre el género, pero que siempre le da esa siempre completa la canción? ¿Cuál es ese instrumento? To create a great piece of music or song, in your opinion, which is the instrument that is a must-have in a band, always in a song?
The instrument that I always enjoy hearing in any modern piece of music is the guitar. I think the guitar, whether it's electric or acoustic or classical, is a very versatile and wonderful instrument that has spanned the decades and has covered pretty much every genre imaginable and has been heard millions of times on millions of recordings. So yeah, I like to hear, a guitar. But again, it depends on the style of music and it depends on the way the piece was written. But I like guitars.
La guitarra, por supuesto, en cualquier pieza de música, la guitarra es un instrumento muy versátil que ha madurado durante décadas y que siempre se ha prestado y que siempre se prestará para cualquier tipo de música, para todos los géneros. Ok, y para terminar, si tuvieras la oportunidad de controlar la industria de la música, ¿qué cambios le harías en términos de talento, en términos de producciones? To finish, tell us, if you could control the current music industry, what changes will you do in terms of talent, material, and what kind of productions?
Well, if I was to try and change the music industry as it stands today, I would have to revert it back to what it was pre-internet and pre-Pro Tools. This was at a time when you had to have some sort of skill of songwriting, arranging, and composing, be able to play your instrument proficiently, and sing on key. Imagine that. Now you were able to sit in front of your computer and propagate some sort of musical sound or sample and program it, which makes you a computer programmer, not a musician. This is like calling an animated character an actor. They are not actors. They are animated characters that were created by a computer programmer. So we have a lot of computer programming going on today. Surprise, surprise. So, back years ago, you were able to follow certain steps as well to become successful in the music industry or have a good chance of being successful at it. Which was, going out and being maybe the house band at a club or playing 4 or 5 gigs a night and getting paid pretty decently in order to do that. Now, you're not paid anything. You have to check how much it's going to cost me to go out and play a show. So it's become a hobby, and you're doing it for free, and you're playing once every month or 2 months or 3 months, where back then bands were able to cut their teeth on being a band and honing their act by playing 3 or 4 or 5 shows a night. Like I said, being a house band at a certain bar or whatever. None of that exists anymore. So, there you have it.
Pues básicamente si pudiera controlar la industria musical, la devolvería a la era de anti-Pro Tools, anticomputador, donde existían artistas y cantantes con talento de verdad, que tenían que cantar afinados, que tenían que tocar un instrumento bien, que tenían que componer, que tenían que ser reales, que eran artistas. Ahora todo es computarizado, nadie tiene que cantar bien, todo se le arregla en el computador. Son no artistas, sino computadores, programadores de computadores, como decir un cartoon, una caricatura. No es un actor, una caricatura en televisión es un personaje ficticio, es un personaje animado. Y hoy en día están creando los mismos personajes para la industria de la música, un personaje falso que ni canta ni tiene talento, pero le dan el talento, le dan la afinación, le dan el talento musical por medio de computadores. Es un mercado ficticio. So, Ricardo, mil gracias por estar con nosotros en nuestro espacio, por compartir con nosotros todo tu conocimiento. HKL Radio es tu casa. Mil gracias. Ricardo, thank you so much for your time and for sharing so much with us here in HKL Radio.
Thank you for having me on your show, Angie, and I certainly appreciate it.
Personajes.
Y a nuestra bella y gran audiencia de personajes en HKL Radio, un abrazo, un beso, mil gracias por su fidelidad, por siempre estar con nosotros, fieles a nuestros personajes tan interesantes. Para hoy estuvo con nosotros Ricardo Morelli, guitarrista y luthier neoyorquino. La repetición de esta entrevista vendrá el próximo domingo a las 2 de la tarde, hora Colombia. Les habla Angie Mera, un beso para todos bajo la dirección de Alejandro Gómez. Bye.
HKL Radio Más Internacional presentó Personajes con la entrevista internacional de Angie Mera y la dirección de Alejandro Gómez. Los invitamos a una próxima oportunidad. Personajes.